Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nutsack. I know I've been shit, my fault. I know I haven't been uploading that much recently, and I want to apologize. I've just been like super busy with like work and like starting school and shit. And it sucks for me because I love making videos for you guys. I want to be making videos as consistently as I can, but um, it is what it is. But I'm glad that I'm making a video for you guys today, and I'm glad I'm gonna be able to make videos. Hopefully, I can make videos as much as I can, with as busy as I am. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just it is what it is. But today, I decided to come back with a good video for you guys. Today we're gonna be looking at the most underrated fighter resumes in UFC history. So basically, we're just gonna be looking at fighters' resumes that I think like aren't spoken of enough. So yeah, let's go fucking fuck, man. Let's just get into the list. We got coming in coming in first. We got the man on the cover, Petr Yan. I think Petr Yan arguably has one of the greatest resumes of all time. Um, people look at Petr Yan's resume, and the reason I think it's overrated is because people think of Petr Yan like when the conversation comes up of who's the bantamweight GOAT, right? A lot of people say Dominic Cruz. I agree with Dominic Cruz being the bantamweight GOAT, to be honest. But then some people say T.J. Dillashaw. Some people say Aljamain, and I think people who say that are underrating Petr Yan because they just say that because they have more title wins, title defenses, whatever. But I think Petr Yan arguably has not arguably. Petr Yan definitely has the greatest resume in bantamweight history. He's beaten Jose Aldo, who's amazing, only lost to elite fighters and has beaten everyone else. Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen also has an elite resume. He's also super good. We all know Corey Sandhagen. I know he just lost, but that just shows how. I feel like that just shows how good Umar is, not how bad Sandhagen is. And Umar also had threat of the takedown. Song Yadong. I think Song Yadong is super underrated. I think he's an elite striker. I think he's a monster. I think the division is just super competitive, but Song Yadong is definitely a monster. We got Aljo. I count the first win against Aljo, not the second one. I do think the second fight Aljo won, but the DQ, like, I don't understand why people count the DQ as a loss for Yan. People act like Yan wasn't dominating that fight. It's like the same people who say that Petr Yan didn't beat Aljo the first time are the same people who don't count John Jones' DQ loss, and that makes no sense because it's literally the exact same thing. Yan was dominating that fight. I'm not just gonna forget about what happened. So I count Yan's win over Aljo. And then we got John Dodson. John Dodson's pretty good, actually. You got people over here saying, freaking out about Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius Johnson's like third best win of all time is John Dodson. Meanwhile, it's literally Petr Yan's fifth or sixth best win. But you got over here people freaking about Demetrius Johnson. But then you have people who say like Petr Yan is in the top 3 bantamweight of all time. That doesn't make sense. And then we got Uriah Faber. It was a decent win. He was kind of old at the time, but still. And then we got Sean O'Malley, which is an arguable win. I think Petr Yan did win that fight. I rewatched it multiple times. I think Petr Yan won the second and third, just because the striking on the feet was close in both of those rounds. I do think Sean O'Malley did outstrike Petr Yan, but I think the grappling, Petr Yan out-grappled Sean O'Malley pretty well, and he hit him with good ground and pound shots. And I think that since the striking was competitive, even though Sean O'Malley was winning the striking, I think that Petr Yan definitely edged out those rounds with the grappling and the ground and pound. And I do think Sean O'Malley won round 1. But the UFC was never going to give that fight to Petr Yan because you know how much Dana loves Sean O'Malley. Shouldn't say that. I'm not going to talk shit about Dana no more. But yeah, it is what it is. So I could possibly count Sean O'Malley as a win because who else has beat Sean O'Malley? Chito Vera? That was a fluke. He just dominated Chito Vera. So Petr Yan was arguably the only person to beat Sean O'Malley. But yeah, moving on to the next fighter. We got Rob Whittaker. I think, in my opinion, Robert Whittaker was actually the reason I wanted to make this list in the first place, because I think people don't talk about how good Robert Whittaker's resume is. He's beaten Yoel Romero twice. The second one was arguably a robbery. I don't think it was. And also Yoel missed weight as well. But I think Rob did win that fight, and I think he definitely won the first fight. He has win over Cannonier, Paulo Costa, Darren Till. Paulo Costa and Darren Till were competitive fights, but Rob Whittaker did win them. Marvin Vittori is not that great, but he did beat the dog shit out of Marvin Vittori. Has a win over Kelvin Gastelum, who did have like a close fight with Izzy, even though Kelvin Gastelum wasn't that great, but he was still decent. Jacare Souza absolutely obliterated Jacare Souza, and he fucking KO'd Derek Brunson and Ikram Liskarov in one. And I put Izzy there as arguable because some people, I'm not one of those people. I think Izzy won the second fight, but some people would argue that Rob Whittaker did win the second fight, but I didn't think he did. But you could argue that he did. So if you do think he did, then that's also an Izzy win, which is also great for his resume. But I think Robert Whittaker arguably has the greatest resume in middleweight history, besides maybe Izzy. But I think Robert Whittaker has dominated his opponents better than Izzy has. And to be fair, he's beaten the same competition. I think Rob Whittaker would beat Sean Strickland. Izzy also fought Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vittori. Rob Whittaker beat them, and he beat them better than he did. He beat Yoel better than Izzy did. Not Paulo Costa. Izzy beat Paulo Costa better than Rob Whittaker did. And I would say that the Paulo Costa that Izzy fought was a better version. But yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty comparable, like resume wise, even though like, you know, Izzy has beaten Rob Whittaker twice, but I think Rob Whittaker's resume, like the people that he's beaten, is on par with the people that Izzy has beaten, in my opinion. The only thing that puts Izzy over the edge, in my opinion, is that Pereira win, but Pereira also beat Izzy, so you can also argue it balances it out. But yeah, it is what it is. So moving on to the next fighter, we got Deiveson Figueiredo. I don't understand the people who say that Pantoja or Henry Cejudo are above Deiveson Figueiredo on like the flyweight GOAT list. Deiveson Figueiredo has beaten Brandon Moreno. He did lose Brandon Moreno in the quadrilogy. Like overall, I think it was like 2-1-1. 2 wins for Moreno, 1 win for Deiveson Figueiredo, and of course the draw they had the first time. He's beating Pantoja, and Pantoja wasn't like that young then. He was still good. And Pantoja is the champ now, so that's a win that aged well. He beat Joseph Benavidez twice, murdered him both times. Even though he was a little bit older, he did murder him. So beat Alex Perez, subbed him. And I believe that was the shortest turnaround in championship history. And then he fought like Brandon Moreno the next month and had a draw with him. Chito Vera, he just beat Chito Vera. It was competitive. I'm not gonna say it wasn't a competitive fight. I think Deiveson Figueiredo did win that, but it was competitive. He dropped Chito, which is super impressive. First person to ever do that, I believe. But I think it was a little due to the fact that O'Malley shortened his lifespan by about 20 years in the fight before that. Rob Font, good win, solid win. Tim Elliott, okay. Cody Garbrandt, not that great, but there's some like fake fucking rumor that Deiveson Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt was actually like competitive. That fight wasn't competitive at all. Deiveson Figueiredo won the first round, and then he easily subbed Cody Garbrandt in the second. So yeah, it is what it is. But Deiveson Figueiredo has the second, arguably has the greatest resume in flyweight history, arguably greater than Demetrius Johnson. But obviously, you're gonna have Demetrius Johnson over him, just in terms of dominance. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is what it is. But moving on to the next one, we got Francis Ngannou. I think Francis Ngannou is, without a doubt, I think Francis Ngannou is a little bit underrated just because I think without a doubt he's the second best heavyweight in UFC history, right behind Stipe, just because of his resume. I feel like people don't really talk about how good Francis Ngannou's resume is. He has a win over Stipe, who's literally the heavyweight GOAT. 2 wins over Curtis Blades, who's like a staple in the top 5 best. Who's like a staple in the top 5 for heavyweight, like even to this day. He beat JDS, Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane's like a certified top 3 guy. Cain Velasquez and JDS were a little bit older, but they're still good wins because he still like fucking clipped the shit out of him. Jairzinho Rosenstrike clipped him in 1. Alistair Overeem, gnarly KO. And then we got Andrei Arlovsky, who was like the pinnacle of like decent in the UFC. You know what I mean? He's not that guy who's like at the bottom of the rankings, but like he'll beat the bad guys and he'll lose to all the good guys. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, but I think Francis Ngannou is definitely the second best heavyweight of all time, just off of resume, and I think his resume is super underrated. But moving on to the next guy, we got Merab. Merab doesn't have that many great wins, but his quality of wins is so good. He has a win over Petr Yan. Only man to ever 50-45 Petr Yan. That's fucking insane if you think about it. Like, 50-45ing a guy like Petr Yan is almost impossible. That's a super great win. That's one of the best wins of all time. That's like 50-45ing Petr Yan is like 50-45ing John Jones. It's like, I'm not comparing Petr Yan to John Jones. You know I hate John Jones, but Petr Yan is just one of those people that like is impossible to beat by decision. I mean, Sean O'Malley did it, but that was arguably a robbery, and he beat him in a 5-rounder. So yeah, he also beat Jose Aldo, and Jose Aldo was on like a 3-fight win streak, and he was on the verge of fighting for a title, and Merab ran through him, but Merab beat him convincingly. Henry Cejudo picked up Henry Cejudo like a sack of potatoes. There was like one competitive round, I think it was the first, where Henry clipped him, and then Merab dominated the next round, the next 2 rounds. Marlon Moraes was mid, but he was Merab's only finish in the UFC, and Marlon Moraes is still like okay, so I put him up there. And then we got John Dodson again. John Dodson is like Demetrius Johnson's 3rd best win, and people freak out over Demetrius Johnson's resume while it's like Merab's 5th best win. But yeah, I'm still gonna put John Dodson up there. But yeah, resume wise, I think Merab's definitely like a top 5 bantamweight of all time for sure. And you know, to be honest, I think Merab is like number 5 on the bantamweight GOAT list. I think he's over Cejudo. I'd have it like 1 Dominic Cruz, 2 Petr Yan, 3 maybe Aljo, 4 Dillashaw, and then 5 Merab. You can even put Merab over TJ just because I think Merab's resume is a little better. But yeah, it is what it is. It just depends on what you count more. I count resume more, but if you count like titles more, then obviously you're gonna probably not have Merab top 5. You're probably gonna have like Brow or, you know, someone over him. But yeah, moving on to the next person, we got Wonderboy. Wonderboy's resume isn't like that crazy, but I feel like it's a little underrated, just because of like how dominant these wins have been. Dominated Masvidal, 50-45 them, and Masvidal's fought for a title twice against Usman. Dominated Vicente Luque, 50-45. Dominated Jeff Neal. Dominated Kevin Holland. And he's one of 3 people to knock out Rob Whittaker. Even though this was like a young Rob Whittaker at welterweight, still knocked out Rob Whittaker, and it's still a good win that aged well. And Kevin Holland, after losing to Wonderboy and breaking his hand, went on to have like a super competitive fight with Jack Della Maddalena, who everyone rates really highly. So I think it's still like a good win. And Wonderboy was like 40 years old, which is impressive. And then we got Johnny Hendricks, and I think Wonderboy is just like, he has a bunch of losses just because he's been out-grappled a lot, and you know, everyone knows that Wonderboy's like, the way to beat him is just to grapple with him, and these are the people who try to strike with him, and they learn the hard way. So yeah, but I think Wonderboy has a really good resume. And then coming in number last, and the last for the list, we had Dustin Poirier. I think Dustin Poirier arguably has like a top 2 resume in lightweight history. I think Dustin Poirier's resume is better than Khabib's, to be honest. Like, pure resume. I'm talking about resume, like, only. I think Khabib is better than Dustin all time, of course. And I think Dustin has more I don't think. Dustin obviously has more losses than Khabib, but since Khabib has no losses and he's had titles and he's been way more dominant than Dustin, I think Khabib is definitely 100% better than Dustin all time, like on the lightweight GOAT list. But I think like purely like based off of who they've beaten in their careers, I think Dustin is better. We got Max Holloway, a prime Max Holloway. We know him and Conor both beat him in like before he hit his prime, but this was a win against like a champ Max Holloway, even though it was at lightweight on short notice. Did beat him convincingly. He's the only person to beat prime Max Holloway besides Volkanovski. We got Justin Gaethje. Did lose to Justin Gaethje, but he also beat him, so it's still impressive. Conor McGregor twice. I don't really count the second one because it was an injury. I don't really count injury losses like that, but they're still losses at the end of the day. But he did have a win over McGregor the first time, which is still impressive. Win over Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez has a pretty underrated resume too. I think he beat Michael Chandler once in Bellator, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then he also beat RDA, knocked out RDA, and then he also has a win over Gaethje, which is impressive. So I think Eddie Alvarez's resume is underrated as well. Win over Anthony Pettis. I feel like Anthony Pettis was a champion. He does have good wins, but I feel like everyone has a win over Anthony Pettis, to be honest. But one of 3 people to beat Michael Chandler, also impressive. Had a war with Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker's still like a ranked guy, solidified, so I still count Dan Hooker. And Benoit Saint Denis, who was like a surging contender. Like, a lot of people thought that Dustin was gonna win that fight. I know Benoit had staff, but still still a good win because, you know, he got dominated that first round and was able to come back and KO Benoit. And then he also has a win over Bobby Green, who's decent. Everyone knows he's decent. But yeah, this is going to be the list of the most underrated resume guys. Let me know if you think I forgot anyone in the comments. And yeah, drop some video ideas in the comments as well. I'm running out of ideas, but I think the next video I'm going to do is the most overrated resumes. Just letting you know that John Jones is definitely going to be there. But yeah, so that's it. That's all I got for the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.